We went through the airport, they dragging me with a belt the entire time, flew down to Miami, and then I finally figured out where we were going. I feel like I'm gonna lose my mind here. I feel like I'm going to crack and I'm just not gonna be able to go any further. I am a US citizen. I should be free.
Hi, I'm Zorianna. Today's guest is best known to some of you as a member of the music industry, but today he's here as a film producer. Lance Bass, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
You have a documentary that's coming out on Showtime called Kidnapped for Christ.
Yes,
that's a very provocative title. What is it about?
It is a provocative title, and
it's a great title.
It catches people's attention. Thank goodness. You know, it's a story about this teen reform school in the Dominican Republic. And when I came on board a year ago, the footage had already been shot about 7 years ago from our director, who was this kid in college that wanted to do a positive story about this school she came across in the Dominican Republic. She was an evangelical Christian, and she wanted to do this wonderful, story for her last project at school. And she caught a lot more than she expected. She went down there thinking it was going to be a positive documentary, and the more that she got to meet the students, they started telling her the real truth of what was happening, and these kids were being physically and emotionally abused at this school.
Now, why did you personally want to get involved?
Once I saw the footage, it just shocked me, completely shocked me. As someone that's been around the world and was aware of a lot of things going on, I had no idea this was still happening. I've heard horror stories about these teen reform schools and pray the gay away, but I didn't know that it was really happening today. And that was the ignorance on my part. And I knew if I was that ignorant to the subject, that everyone else pretty much was going to be. So I knew I had to be a part of this to make sure that I could educate as many people as possible.
Especially since the Dominican Republic is such a destination vacation place.
Right,
and
tropical fun place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here in the middle of it, this horror place existed.
Yeah.
Now, as someone who is openly gay, did you relate to this story in any way?
I did. Watching David in this story, and we have a lot of kids in this documentary that are featured that aren't gay. They went there for drug problems, or they just can't get along with their parents. This particular guy just went there because his parents thought that they could get him to become heterosexual, which is the craziest and stupidest thing ever. But I did relate because I come from, Mississippi, a state where, it's not easy to be gay. I was the only gay in town. Obviously not really, but no one was out in my town growing up. So I could really relate to his story, where there was a lot of friends of mine that went through the same experience that I didn't realize what they were going through at the time until later on in life. They told me, oh my gosh, I went to one of those schools. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, remember that summer that I disappeared? I went to that school. And the things that they would tell me way later in life, they were ashamed.
Now, they really focus on healing, whatever that means, to the troubled youths through Christ. How do you keep your Christian faith knowing that Christ is used in this capacity to fix something that you're not supposed to fix?
Yeah. Well, I know, I grew up, Christian, and I still consider myself a Christian, but my faith has completely changed from what it was as a kid to now. I realize that there's bad eggs out there in every, walk of life. And I know that, Christianity gets a bad rap a lot from these handful of people that are idiots, and they try to brainwash you into thinking and using the Bible to say, oh, okay, you can agree with slavery because it says it in the Bible, right? So there's so much miseducation that people are using the Bible for, and this is definitely one of those cases, and especially the pray the gay away.
What's the most shocking thing you think that people will see or find in this documentary when they see it?
Well, I think the most shocking thing that you'll find is just the abuse that these kids have to go through. Teenagers should never have to go through the mental and physical abuse that you're going to see in this film. There's ways of changing kids into a better human being, or fixing a problem like drug abuse and alcohol abuse, than making them go to a quiet room for days and physically punching them in the stomach. You just don't need to do that.
You can't beat things away or out of somebody.
No.
That doesn't work.
Exactly.
This was a Kickstarter campaign, or Indiegogo a couple of times.
Right.
You were involved in the Kickstarter campaign, right?
I was.
How important is crowdfunding to films like this?
You know, you have so many great ideas for documentaries, films, whatever, but you really don't know if the public wants it. And with crowdfunding, it is so amazing to see that your market is there. They want to see this. So when you're making the film, you know when you release it that there's going to be eyeballs on this, and they kind of guide you into what they want to see in the industry these days. And I think that's so amazing to have that input before you even start production. It saves a lot of money and a lot of time.
What do you want people to get out of this? I mean, the title certainly makes me go, what is this?
Yeah, it makes you want to watch.
Yeah, but then when you sit down, what do you want people to take away from this?
I want people to take away the shock of what's happening, so that it really makes you want to do something. This is a call to action type of documentary. I love those docs that you watch and you're so mad that you have to call someone about it, and that's what this doc does. And a lot of these screenings, we had people walk out because they were so upset with the material they were watching, but immediately we're trying to call the representatives to change things. And that's what we want to happen after you watch this doc.
At the end, there's a postscript saying that school has closed down.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because of Kate Logan's work in shooting everything?
Yes, indeed. Because of what Kate did down there, they knew this documentary. They tried shutting down this production so many times. We're going to sue you, and Kate did shut down. You know, she was just a college student, so she shut down the production because of the threat of lawsuits for a couple of years before she picked it back up. And you'll see in the documentary, David didn't want to speak to her anymore. He was scared that he was going to get sued over this. So yeah, I mean, it's the school shut down in the Dominican Republic, but it reopened just recently under a different name. So
they're still trying.
They're still trying. I mean, they're still using the same practices down there at the same school. It's just under a different name right now. They thought they could fool people, but they didn't.
Have you gotten any blowback from people who think that this documentary is bogus, that the work that these places do are truly good work, honest work, God's work? Are you getting any threats in that way, maybe?
Zero feedback from anyone thinking that those schools are positive. Overwhelmingly, 100% of the stories we get are these students, these ex-students, now that they're in, I mean, there's teenagers in their 20s, 30s, and 40-year-olds that are coming out of the woodwork, because this school's been around for 30 years.
Yeah, since 71 or 72.
Yeah, since the 70s. Yeah. So now these ex-students are coming forward and like, oh my gosh, thank you for finally telling this story. No one believed me when I would say what we went through. You know, it was hell for them, hell. And they want, now that they know this documentary is coming out, they want to figure out how they can help others that have gone through the same situation, and you know, educate these parents out there before they think about sending their kids to a school like this. Check out the school. Make sure that they're not using these practices, because like I said, some of these schools are good. They do good, but a lot of them not so much.
Now, you were in one of the biggest boy bands ever on the planet with NSYNC. You've written a book, so you're an author. You've hosted television shows, you've acted in films, you were one of the contestants on Dancing with the Stars, almost won, and now you're producing films. What do you like about producing?
You know, I love creating art, and as a producer, you get to create things that you love, that you hope other people will love. And one of my favorite things as a producer, you know, I produce scripted stuff too, but documentaries are just, I live for documentaries. My whole entire life, I've just loved them. And for the rest of my life, I want to have at least one in production every year, because they're so entertaining, but yet they're educational. And I think they're so important for us to be able to see subjects, especially like this, so that you watch a documentary and say, oh my gosh, wow, I didn't know that was happening. Now I'm educated about it, and now I can spread the word of the truth. And a lot of documentaries are one-sided, of course, so being able to decipher the truth out of documentaries also is very fun for me, too.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
We look forward to seeing what else you will produce on the documentary front. Feel free to come back anytime to talk about that.
Yeah.
Cheers to your career.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.